For a long time now, it's been a widely accepted and rarely questioned belief that a strong corporate culture goes hand in hand with success. However, a recent study has cast some doubt on this principle. After all, the authors of the report argue for culture. A company's build-up may be strong, but wrong. There is little point in every employee marching to the same tune if they are all marching in the wrong direction. The principal recommendation of the World Conferences was that countries must take full responsibility for their own development. National responsibility for national development is the necessary consequence of sovereignty. The Monterrey Consensus states that each country has primary responsibility for its own economic and social development, and the role of national policies and development strategies cannot be overemphasized. The Johannesburg Plan of Implementation called for all governments to begin implementing national sustainable A majority of U.S. high school students say they get bored in class every day, and more than 1 out of 5 has considered dropping out, according to a survey released on Wednesday. The survey of 81,000 students in 26 states found 2/3 of high school students complain of boredom, usually because the subject matter was irrelevant or their teachers didn't seem to care about them. That brings us to the CEO's second duty, building everyone, or more accurately, building the senior team. All the executives report to CEO, so it's the CEO's job to hire, fire, and manage the executive team. From coaching CEOs, I think this is the most important skill of all. Because when a CEO hires an excellent senior team, that team can keep the company running. When a CEO hires a poor senior team, the CEO is up spending all their time trying to do with the team, and not nearly enough time trying to do with other elements of their job. For many years, the favorite horror story about abrupt climate change was that a shift in ocean currents could radically cool Europe's climate. These currents, called the overturning circulation, bring warm water and warm temperatures north from the equator to Europe. Susan Looser, an oceanographer at Duke University, says scientists have long worried that this ocean circulation could be disrupted. Performance appraisals have traditionally been considered the best way to evaluate an employee's performance, but increasingly organizations are finding them of little value. Employees find them stressful and unhelpful. Importantly, they also take up a lot of time. When Deloitte analyzed the own process, they found managers and employees spent around 2 million hours a year on performance reviews. A growing number of companies have decided to abolish performance reviews altogether, instead introducing more regular catch-ups. After centuries of inequality in UK higher education benefiting men, there has been a reverse over the past 3 decades. A lower proportion of entrants to UK higher education institutions are male than ever before, and they make up less than 1/2 of the total. Other developed countries have undergone a similar shift. Male underachievement is not seen only in the figures for entry but also in non-continuation, dropout, rates and degree performance statistics. Most chapters have a mixed exercise after the main work of the chapter has been completed. This will help you revise what you have done, either when you have finished the chapter or at a later date. All chapters end with some mathematical puzzles and practical investigational work. For this work you are encouraged to share your ideas with others. Psychology is the study of cognitions, emotions, and behavior. Psychologists are involved in a variety of tasks. Many spend their careers designing and performing research to understand how people behave in specific situations, how and why we think the way we do, and how emotions develop and what impact they have on our interactions with others. One of the major factors influencing future home design will be the probable change in climate, with hotter summers, colder winters, and the possibility of floods. Consequently, houses will be built with better insulation and will also need ways of keeping cool in hot weather, whether that's air conditioning or more shading of windows. about the possibility of existence of other cosmic civilizations. Every year there are 7 newborn stars, but most planets around them are either too hot or too cold to support lives. 120% of all the planets meet all necessary criteria to have a chance to have lives, and the chance is nearly zero. So, it is very hard to find other cosmic civilization. You couldn't have the United Nations without it. It couldn't tell you that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights without this idea of values that apply to all of us just because we are humans. Now, the idea is to test that as well. Why is sport universal? Why does everybody play football? It's because the values are specified at a very thin level at the top. There are these rules, and we all have to avoid by just these rules. Last week we talked about how people recognize objects and really how well people recognize objects, given how difficult the problem is, given how objects can be seen in all different sorts of illumination in different positions in different angles. And yet we are able to extract that information, we are able to take the visual stuff out there, interpret it in a way that allows us to recognize all the different things. The advantages and disadvantages of solar power compared to other forms of renewable energy have been greatly debated. While obviously superior to some forms of energy, solar power's high cost and efficiency dependent on geography have limited its appeal. However, a large number of advantages also merit further development and even possible adaptation for residences. Advantages of solar power: solar energy remains renewable and popular. Last week we talked about how people recognize objects and really how well people recognize objects, given how difficult the problem is, given how objects can be seen in all different sorts of illumination, in different positions, in different angles. And yet we are able to extract that information, we are able to take the visual stuff out there, interpret it in a way that allows us to recognize all the different things. Renewable solar energy is a true renewable resource. All areas of the world have the ability to collect some amount of solar power, and solar power is available for collection each day. Clean solar energy is non-polluting. It does not create greenhouse gases, such as oil-based energy does, nor does it create waste that must be stored, such as nuclear energy. It is far quieter to create and harness, drastically reducing the noise pollution required to convert. The rotational period and the season cycles of the Mars are likewise similar of those of Earth, as it was the tilt that produced the seasons. Mars is the site of the Olympus Mons, the largest volcano and the second largest known mountain in the solar system, and the Vias Marineris, one of the largest canyon in the solar system. Mars is a terrestrial planet with a thin atmosphere, having surface features reminiscent both of the impact crater of the Moon. The video with a woman having a book in her hands. The book is about how to do research, and you can read the book's name directly according to the video. The woman introduces the book to her listeners and talks about the book's audience, likely students. She also talks about what the first and the second chapters are about, and why the book is good. People forget things every day, including experiences, feelings and thoughts. We call this process biological forgetting. Remembering is hard for people, and people try to overcome biological forgetting. Human memory is not fixed, but it can be reconstructed and shaped by the past. Since ancestors, we have always been trying to improve our memory. To the key questions that people have not directly addressed until very recently is what forms those clouds. And so, the ones that you're looking at over the ocean, it turns out sea salt is a very effective nucleator for forming clouds, so there's a really good chance that those are loaded with sea salt. But as you go inland, you start to have pollution come from all different kinds of sources, and so different sources form clouds more effectively than others.